My 365 Podcasts with me, Pete Cohen.
It's Pete Cohen here, and you join me for another My 365 podcast. Now, sometimes you meet a guest that you think, wow, this guy's got so much to say, that you want to see them again and interview them again. So I'm very fortunate to have the amazing Justin Zalewski. I've said that, I didn't say it right. Come on, say it for me.
Justin Zalewski.
Zalewski. Everyone say that now, after three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Zalewski.
Good, you got it.
Thank you very much. Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you work.
So, my passion is healing and helping people heal themselves from what are perceived as incurable diseases. I'm really into longevity, to health, vitality, energy, and I'm one of those people that wants to live to 150. And you probably hear a lot of sniggers in the background now where people think, the first thing that usually comes to mind when you say that is they imagine you being pushed about in a wheelchair, sucking through a straw, and somebody having to change you. But you know, any other creature in nature usually lives around 7 times what it takes to reach maturity. So by nature, most humans usually mature around 20. So if you can imagine, we should genetically be able to live to around 130, 140 easily. Mm-hmm. And you'll hear in biblical times where people live for hundreds and hundreds of years. But you know, it's just got to the stage now where our environment is so polluted, the air, the water and the soil, that you know, people now usually die from degenerative diseases. So when you can do things that allow you to have the best health, the best vitality, to keep your body optimally nourished and to keep it as clean as possible, your body will absolutely thrive.
Yeah. So tell us, because what's very interesting in your background, tell us, you used to sell cars, right?
I used to sell Mercedes cars, and I did that for 10 years, and I just got up one day and I decided, you know what, I actually don't want to do this anymore. It was something that made me very, very wealthy, but I got to the stage where there was no more passion in it, and I decided, you know what, one of the things that really sort of caught my attention was that my staff were having many more holidays than I have, and I thought that I owned the company, but in reality, the company owned me.
Yeah.
And you know, any other business owners will realise that they've got caught in the owner's trap, where the company actually ends up owning you. And I just got to the stage where I didn't want to end up lying on my metaphorical deathbed and thinking, you know, I wish I had to work more. To me, it was important to go out and experience the world. So after that, I just thought, you know, I had the time and the money at the same time, and I just decided, you know, let's find the people that are the absolute models of excellence that were achieving in the areas of interest that I had. And so I really spent a lot of time in the areas of personal development, of nutrition, of healing, of hypnosis, of NLP, and I just went and basically immersed myself with what I would call the ultimate masters in their field.
Yeah, wow. So you must have learned a lot.
Yeah, I just learned an amazing amount of information, and then, you know, I then tried to apply as best as I could what I'd learnt. And, you know, spending time with those people, you know, something that maybe took that master 20 years to perfect, he'd maybe teach you that in 20 minutes and save you like years and years and years of a learning curve.
So tell me some of those people that you spent time with and got to know.
I got to see Tony Robbins many, many times. I got to fly to his island in Fiji. I got to see him in Dubai. I got to see him at many different events and stuff throughout the world. I got to have dinner with people like Keith Cunningham, who is the rich dad out of Robert Kiyosaki's book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Got to go and see people like Robin Sharma, who wrote the book The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. People like Mark Victor Hansen, Bob Proctor, John Grinder, Richard Bandler, and there's just so many of them. And you know, they were what I thought were absolute masters, and I just was able to learn so much. And one of the things that I found is, you know, you see a lot of people when they go to seminars or go to trainings and stuff, and a lot of people get very stressed or very wound up. But I just found that when you got yourself into a very deep, relaxed state, and you had the positive intention to absorb as much data as possible in a very calm and relaxed environment, you were able to really retain so much of that information. And I was able to learn to do things, you know, especially I used to travel a lot, and I could do things like time distortion, where I could take a 10 or 12 hour flight and make it physically feel in my body like 3 hours. And so stuff like that, you know, I was able to practice and practice and practice. I was able to learn how to fly all over the world, arrive in somewhere like Australia after being in the air for 25 hours, arrive there at 7 o'clock in the morning, not go to bed till after 12 o'clock at night, and then do 8 20-hour days in a row, fly back to Ireland, be there for 1 or 2 days, and then jump on the plane and fly out to Dubai, and never, ever, ever get sick or break down.
Wow, so that has a lot to do with the power of your mind. In fact, you and I have very similar paths. It's a part of the work which a lot of people don't know that I did, just like you. I studied NLP, hypnosis, trained in it for years. And I remember working with Ellen MacArthur, you know, the woman who sailed around the world single-handedly.
Yeah.
And she could only sleep for 15-minute bursts. So she came to see me because she wanted some help with hypnosis. So we did some work around her convincing her brain that 15 minutes was the equivalent to 8 hours of deep sleep.
Yeah.
And she said it worked a treat, you know. So let's talk about the mind. I mean, how powerful really is it? I mean, what did you learn from all of those people you spent time with?
Well, one of the things I really learned was that your unconscious mind is incredibly, incredibly powerful. And this is where, you know, you'll hear stories of where a car will run over a woman's child. The child is lying under the car, and this little skinny woman will walk up and lift the car off the child. Or you'll see things like where you'll be in the kitchen and you'll see blood dripping on the floor, and you'll look down, next thing you'll realise it's coming out of your finger, and only once you look at your finger can you actually see that it was you that cut yourself, and all of a sudden you end up with the pain. Or one of the things I did learn was that I could go to the dentist, I could have a treatment which I wouldn't recommend, which is a root canal, and I was able to have that treatment without any anaesthetic whatsoever and still feel very, very deeply relaxed. And just to give you a perspective, I had to get a tooth removed many, many years ago, and I had to have 13 injections because of the high sensitivity that my teeth have. And so through accident, I was able to learn how to completely control pain.
So let's look at the brain and the mind, and how people that are listening to this can develop a stronger mind.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is that your unconscious mind always wants to do what's best for you if you give it choices. So say we have a headache. When you ask people, what do you do when you have a headache? Most people will say, well, I'll go and get the painkillers. Now, so pain is this beautiful communication from your unconscious mind to tell you that there's something wrong. So what most people do is when that communication, that beautiful communication from your unconscious mind comes along, most people shoot the messenger and think the problem's solved. That's a bit like you driving down the road in your car. The oil light comes on to tell you the car's low on oil. You take out the bulb and think, wow, that's that problem solved. Yeah. All that's done is mask the symptoms. Your unconscious mind then has to then find a way to get your attention. It's going, listen, you crazy person, I need you to realise there's something seriously, seriously wrong. So what it does is it ups the signal, and then people start this battle with more painkillers, more communication from the unconscious, and eventually they end up completely addicted to these horrible, very toxic drugs that usually have a very detrimental effect on the liver.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because it's, again, something which most people never really tap into, the power they have. But so with pain, you said whether it's headaches, whether it's stomach problems, whether it's back pain, there's normally, what you're saying is there's another side to it. It's not...
Yeah, so why did you get the pain in the first place? If you can imagine that pain is your friend, it's this beautiful...
I'll tell you something.
Yeah, it's a beautiful communication from the unconscious to let you know that there is a problem. And, you know, so at times when I would do seminars, I would say, who here would like to have the ability that they would never feel pain again? And the amount of people that put their hands up is crazy. But the thing is, there's a few people in the world have a disease called congenital analgesia, which means that they actually have an inability to feel pain. And these people usually have a very shortened life expectancy if they even ever reach adulthood, because they have no feedback loop or mechanism to let them know that there's something wrong. So they can end up doing horrendous amounts of damage to their body and not realising the impact that that's having.
It kind of makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's like putting your hand on something hot. You know?
Yeah. And if you can't get that feedback, then, you know, you can cause like very, very serious damage. And I can tell you a short story of how I figured out how to do this. And so I used to ride motorbikes a lot, and I was one of those people that enjoyed doing things at very high speeds, like wheelies at 150 mile an hour and stuff like that, you know. And, you know, I would never do that stuff now. But so I used to do that for a long, long time. I then got out of motorbikes for quite a long period of time, and then I got back into them. And so I then went out one day, and I was sort of going down a road. I was going down the road far, far too quick. I went over a speed ramp. and I lost control of it. The bike was going to fall over. I was able to let go of the brake, get it up again and straighten it, but by the time I went to apply the brake again, I hit a curb, hit a wall and somersaulted over the wall, taking the railings off the top of the wall and landing in somebody's garden. So whenever I landed in that garden, I was in a complete state of shock. I had whiplash, concussion, visual distortions. I'd ripped a hole in my right hand in the ring finger, and I needed 12 stitches in that. The tendons were hanging out of it. I had broken my left arm. I had a hole in my right leg. I had pains in my chest. I felt I was going to pass out, and it was like normal volume, normal brightness, say, would say be 2 or 3, like in daylight. This was like as if somebody turned the brightness up to 10 and everything had just completely whited out. And I knew that I was going to pass out within a few seconds, but my unconscious mind, because a drunk driver had crashed into me many years before, it just says, go and get a glass of water, because somebody before gave me a glass of water, and that completely grounded me. Yeah. So I sat down quickly to get myself grounded. I sent somebody to get me a glass of water, which helped conserve energy. When I drank the water, it connected me to myself again, and I was able to sort of reboot and then sort of come round again. But I don't know if you've ever been at the scene of an accident, and people usually start to panic and they start to get, very sort of, agitated. So I had to stand up. I had to take control of it all, because the noise was actually doing my head, and it was just sort of too much bandwidth for me. So I got everybody to calm down, sent somebody to get my father, and we drove past 4 hospitals to get to the hospital that was closest to my home. So I went in there, I walked up to the reception and I said, look, I need to see a doctor. I've just had an accident. She says, can you fill in this form, and can you do this, and can you do all these different things? And I says, look, I need to see somebody now. I looked at her and she looked at me and she says, right. And she just walked me straight into casualty. They put me on a stretcher. They kept me there for 5 hours because they thought I might have broken my back. Eventually, after they x-rayed me, realised my back wasn't broken, but all the other parts were. They allowed me to go to the toilet. And if you can imagine, after I got off the stretcher, after 5 hours, I wanted to go to the toilet, but because my right hand was ripped apart, because my left hand was broken, I actually couldn't even get the zip of my trousers open. So I had to find a nurse that would open the trousers for me and help facilitate me go to the bathroom. And eventually, when I did that, I come back out, and then it says, look, we want to give you morphine. And I says, I don't want any. And it says, look, but let us give you morphine. And I says, look, I don't need any. But eventually, after them being so persistent for at least half an hour, I said, okay, I'll agree to giving me 50%. Yeah. So I took 50%, the first time I've ever taken morphine, and it'll be the last time I ever take morphine. And all it did was space me out and made me all drowsy and trippy and stuff like that. Not something that I would sort of enjoy or want to have again. Yeah. But the thing about it is I felt absolutely no pain whatsoever, because my unconscious mind, for years and years and years and years, I'd been reading about people healing themselves, about people having operations under hypnosis, about people being able to do phenomenal things, controlling their pain, controlling their mind, reading about yogis that were buried, say, below the ground for 3 days, where there'd only be enough oxygen for 1 hour for them to survive. So I'd always been fascinated by the potential of the human mind and what it could do. So what I found out is, because I had so much theory, but I had no practical application, whenever that accident happened, my unconscious went, wow, this is the best option for this, and it took over. And it was like literally a wheel of a bicycle spinning. And I tried to figure out how to work out how to deal with this, and my unconscious in a intuitive way says, let me handle it. And it was like somebody sticking a spanner in the wheel, and it just jammed and it took over, and I was able to have that whole experience without any pain whatsoever. And I would say it was probably one of the most profound and one of the most educational experiences that I will cherish for the rest of my life.
Wow. Because, when we talk about physical pain, as much as people will listen to this and some will go, wow, that's amazing, and obviously some people will go, yeah, whatever, that's not possible. But that there have been people, thousands of people, probably millions of people that have experienced massive amounts of pain, or their body's been blown up, but they found a way just to do what they needed to do, Mm-hmm. But there's also not, what I was thinking when you were saying that was about the physical pain. So I remember reading about Viktor Frankl in the book Man's Search for Meaning, when he talks about his family being killed by the Nazis in a concentration camp, but he was a psychiatrist, and he came up with a theory called the logotherapy, which was about your ability to choose how you feel. So his theory was, look, you can do what you want to me, but you can't choose how I decide to feel with what's going on. So physically, you decided how you were going to feel, right?
Well,
is that mind over matter?
Well, in this instance, this was not a logical conclusion about what would happen. This was basically where my unconscious went. I'm handling it, and it took over like an automatic system, because your unconscious mind is allowing your heart to beat between 60 and 100,000 times a day without you ever having to think about it. It allows you to effortlessly digest food without you having to be conscious of it. And so this was almost like a protective mechanism. And, I've had a few experiences in my life, especially with motorcycles, where one day I was going down a road about 60 mile an hour and a black taxi just did a U-turn in front of me. And there was no way I was avoiding the black taxi. I was going to hit it at 60 mile an hour, T-bone side on. And I hit the brake so hard, and whatever I did, I was able to brake and turn the motorcycle 180 degrees backwards and go down the road completely backwards on a motorcycle. While the taxi was turning, it allowed me enough time to do that. And I've no idea how I did that. It's a physical impossibility in my mental map to do that. But my unconscious somehow figured out that was the only way to reduce the speed half a second that would allow that clearance or something. I've had situations like that, or again, you're driving down the road and somebody pulls out, and you have that instant reflex. And so to me, yes, there is a lot of things over mind over matter. After the motorcycle accident, I then had to go and I chose to have the mercury removed from my teeth, the toxic mercury that the dentist used to fill your mouth with when you were younger. And so initially what I did is I tried hypnosis, the mind over matter. And so what I found was that I was able to get myself into a very deeply relaxed state. And what I found was that 80% of the pain was the perception or the anticipation of the pain. Just like if you were sitting here with me now, Pete, you weren't looking at me and I stuck a needle in your leg, that would feel probably quite sore.
Yes.
But if I had a needle and I said, Pete, this is a very sharp needle, I'm going to stick it into your leg in a moment.
Of course.
And because of the perception of what you expect, that's going to be a whole very different experience. So after that experience in the dentist, I had still 20% of pain, which was very, very unpleasant, I would say. I could still stick it. So then after, he says, look, I need to do your top teeth and I want to give you the anaesthetic because they're far, far deeper. And I went to my unconscious and I remember saying, listen, unconscious, I want you to control this so that I feel no pain whatsoever. And I said to it, what I need to do for you. And it says, don't eat any crap for 3 days. So back then, I might have eaten food that was not as healthy as I know, that I shouldn't have been eating. And so it was able to completely and utterly control the pain instantly. And so he was able to completely carry out the rest of that dental treatment. And in the process, previously, there was excessive bleeding. So I asked my unconscious to control the bleeding. And so I was able to have no bleeding whatsoever and go through that experience.
Yeah.
And, so in that case, although initially it was accidental in how I learned to do it, then the mind over matter with the hypnosis and then the negotiation with the unconscious, because the unconscious absolutely always wants to do what's best for you. It's just that most people have very poor choices when they get that communication.
Well, let's talk about, with my 365, one of the 5 fundamentals is definitely a positive mental attitude. How do you encourage people to develop that kind of strength of will and to be positive about life, as opposed to, because I think people often find it easier to be negative and worry and have self-doubt. If someone comes to you, how do you go about helping someone use their mind in a more proactive way?
So the most important thing, if you want to have a magnificent life, is you must always state what you want in a positive context. So if you want to have incredible health, vitality, energy and a passion for life, then you have to state that I want to have amazing health, I want to have incredible vitality. But when I ask people, with you coming to see me today, what do you want to achieve? Most people will tell you, well, I don't want to be tired anymore, I don't want to be stressed, and I don't want to be overweight. And the thing is your unconscious mind doesn't care about what you focus on. It seeks to always find more of what it is you focus on. So again, like when you buy a new car and all of a sudden you say, I can't believe there's so many of these cars on the road, because your focus has changed and you start to attract the things that you always focus on. So to me, the most important thing is always state what you want in a positive context. The second thing that I would say is you always want to be around people that are like-minded, or people that want something positive, or people that will support you on your journey. If you're hanging around with people that sort of start to put you down or say that'll never work, or that's not going to work for you, or I wouldn't do that, those people are going to suck the dreams out of your life, and they're going to end up pulling you down. And so to me, you want to avoid those people as much as possible, and try and surround yourself with people that are either at your level, or even better, people that are playing the game of life at a far, far higher level, because they will drag you to a higher standard, where the people that you're hanging around that don't have a positive outlook on life are going to pull you down.
That's right. In our My 365 private Facebook group, that's what it's all about. It's about helping people be surrounded with people who have similar goals, dreams, aspirations, because a lot of people just don't have that. But sometimes you could just read a book, couldn't you? You could read something about someone who is that much more positive and get aspirations from them.
Yeah, I mean, what you'll find, one of the very common recurring themes of people that are successful or that have a high quality life is most of them actually don't watch television, but they always read really high quality books. And there's so many people out there that have made or produced so many high quality books that, again, like I said about finding somebody that's a master, that person can tell you how they did that in one short book that can save you decades upon decades of learning. And to me, for the small price of a book that's £15-20, you can get this absolute lifetime of information, and which can make you make very profound shifts in the most effortless way. So
the second way you said was about surrounding yourself with like-minded people. What was the first one again, you said?
Always state what you want.
Always state what you want in a
positive context, yes.
And what else? Is there anything else that
There's lots of different things you do. I mean, I know we're talking about the psychology of stuff, but if you're eating highly processed, nutritionally dead food, your brain will actually not function very well, because the fuel that it's run on is absolutely crap.
Yeah.
So it is important, to properly hydrate yourself, to properly nourish your body, and when you do that, it's going to give you much more clarity, so whatever you focus on will become much more easier to achieve. Other things is like, you always have to fully accept responsibility for the outcome. If you say, we'll go to the gym once, such and such will come with me, or I'll do this or do that, you're setting yourself up for failure. You must be fully accept responsibility for the results, and you must be responsible for starting and maintaining the process. If you pass that over to somebody else, it's easy to blame them when it doesn't work out, but you're ultimately setting yourself up for failure, because the person that you want to do or get you to do this or do this with you, what you'll find is that they will have other priorities or other goals that are maybe not fully aligned with yours. So whenever the opportunity comes for them to do something that's more important to them, they're going to leave you. And if you've set it up that you're dependent upon them to help you achieve your goals, you're going to ultimately fail long term.
And what's your biggest achievement so far in your own personal life?
I think the biggest achievement for me is to have profound inner peace. For me, my life might sound incredibly boring to people, but I get to get up at 6:45 every morning. I drink a pint of warm water before I go out for a 30-minute walk. I come back and I meditate for, say, an hour to an hour and a half. I sit in my sauna for an hour. I do 45 minutes in the gym, and then I'll either work with somebody or I'll write for a few hours. And I'll do that until 9 o'clock at night. And then when I get to 9 o'clock at night, if there's an exceptionally good movie on, I may watch that. And if not, I'll use that opportunity to read and write or do something else that really inspires me until maybe about 11:30, and then I go to bed. So to me, it's having that calmness, that sense of balance in my life, and knowing that I have the most incredible indestructible immune system. And when you have that, it just gives you so much energy, so much vitality, knowing that you're never ever going to get a disease, that you're never going to break down, or that that you can go on and go anywhere you want, knowing that nothing like that's ever going to happen.
And what about to people who can't dedicate that much time? Because obviously you've created a life for yourself where there's so much that you can do.
This is the thing. So when I was traveling a lot, one of my goals is that I want to get to the gym. Sometimes when you're traveling, you just don't get to the gym for weeks, if not months at a time. So I have a great rule is that no matter where I go, if I'm staying in a hotel and I'm on the 14th floor, I'll run the stairs every time. I refuse to use the elevator. And you ask usually at hotel reception, like, where's the elevator? And they'll say, or where's the stairs? And they'll say, oh, well, so you want to use the elevator? And they actually think you must have a phobia of elevators.
Yeah.
But to me, there's one way to do it. If I need to be somewhere at a certain time, if I'm early, I'll actually get off 1 or 2 stops off the tube or the bus or whatever it is, and I'll actually walk. I could walk for 5 or 10 miles. Now, some people may not be fit enough or may not have that desire, or it may be raining. But the thing is, if you are creative, the other thing as well to achieve your goals is you must have behavioural flexibility. So if you say, I want to be incredibly fit and healthy, and you can't get to the gym, you're out of the game. Whereas if you're flexible in your approach to achieving different things, I can get off, I can walk, I can climb the stairs, I can do other different things. Sometimes you'll go to a place and they'll actually have a gym. Or even if I'm carrying my luggage, I'll just lift the bag up and down and do like weights with the bag, so as I'll get a muscle burn and I'll give myself, a good workout. But the thing is, flexibility in your approach to whatever you're doing will, the person that has the most flexibility over a system will sort of dominate that system.
So it's really empowering, and I'm sure many people will be inspired to do something to improve their life. But this might seem like a strange question. Is it worth it? Is it worth investing your time and energy into bettering yourself? Because, maybe some people think, I don't know, I can't be bothered, or I think many people are just scared to live life to the full and have maximum energy and just live a long, long, healthy, happy life.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I notice is that, most of the advertisements are encouraging people to consume more and more and more, as if like your happiness is dependent on having our latest new shiniest object. And, from a person that has had incredible wealth at one stage to losing it all, to one stage where I was thinking, am I actually going to have any money for food next week? And you know what? The money will never, ever make you happy. And, I was very fortunate that I got to spend a year around people that were multi-millionaires and billionaires. And you know what? They may be slightly happier than other people, but the money will never make you happy. And to me, it's like, what is it that really is meaningful, or what matters in your life? And the key aspect of all the people that are successful is, if you don't have gratitude in your life, if you can't appreciate where you are now and what you already have, no matter how much you achieve, you will never, ever be happy.
Wow. Really powerful stuff there. So, listen, tell me, how do people find out more about you? Well,
they can contact me. I have a website called superfood7.com. That's the word superfoods with the number 7.com. They can email me at info@superfood7.com. They can connect with me on Facebook. And if anybody's any questions, feel free to email me, and I'll happily come back to you. It may take me a bit of time, but I definitely will respond to you.
And tell me about Superfood 7. What's that?
So basically, I really sort of wanted to figure out what is it that allows you to have the most amazing life ever. And so the things that I thought the most essential components were that you had to have the health and the vitality, you had to have the financial freedom, and that you always wanted an abundance of energy. So one of the things that I really realised was that there were certain people that were achieving absolutely outstanding results in certain areas of life, and I figured out that most people eat a large amount of food that has very, very little nutrition. And so what I found is that I can eat, a small amount of food that has incredible amounts of nutrition. And to me, I just went on a quest to figure out what are the best, most potent, most alive, most nutritious, cleansing, healing, vibrant foods on the planet. And so I figured out some of the stuff that really, really, really works. And to me, I eat that stuff each and every day in life.
Wow, so that's where they can check it out and they can see...
Yeah, they can check it out, and, they don't have to buy stuff from me. They can go out and research things that really make a difference. Go out and research, different things. And, things like MSM, methylsulfonylmethane, is an incredible supplement for blowing toxins out of the body at the cellular level. It's great for connective tissue for your hair, your skin and nails. And it's something that I would take very regularly.
Yeah, and what about your book? So you've got a book coming out.
So I really have been writing this book for at least 5 years, and it's called Thriving in a Toxic World. And it's one of those things where I keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. And one chapter that should have been 10,000 words is now within the 13 or 14,000 words. And there's just so much content. And I want to take what I've learnt with spending a huge amount of money, thousands of hours researching, and a large experience working with different people, so that condense it into a book or a manual or a work that people can take and actually replicate what the results
I
that I
want to
had.
read that book, so make sure you get it done. And I'm sure there's loads of people that will be listening to this that will also want to read it, so let's get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolute must for me, but just the main thing is it has to have integrity, it has to have quality, and it has to be accurate, factually accurate, and I'm working through it. I try to write every day. Sometimes things happen and I don't do it. Some other days I get lucky and I get 3-4 hours, but it's one of those things that, hopefully I'll get it out within the next 12 months. It'll come out whenever it's ready to come out, but it is something that is an absolute must to me. It's very important, and it's one of those things that I will make happen.
Well, listen, I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait for people to listen to this and be inspired and take action. And Justin, I'm sure we will meet again sometime very soon. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and if you want more free inspiration to optimize your life so you can achieve your goals in all the different areas of your life, then visit my365.me. That's mi365.me, and sign up to 365 days of free coaching with me, Pete Cohen. Thanks for listening, and have an awesome day.